Freddie Prinze Jr. joins me. Welcome, Freddie.
Hi, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here. And I don't know if you realize this. This is a big deal for me, at least, because I feel like a lot of guys that grew up when I grew up, like I've had multiple, I wouldn't even call it debates because it's not a debate if two sides agree, just conversations about how Freddie Prinze Jr. is the man. and
You'll find plenty of people to debate that with,
You
but I
think so?
appreciate the love.
Well,
There's a lot of guys right now whose girlfriends had a crush on me, and they're still pissed off about it.
They are.
So, yeah, they'll debate you.
Really? Did you find that when you were coming up and acting and everything that guys were annoyed because?
90% of my friends are all women. I'll put it to you that way.
Oh no. Now, yeah, if 90% of your friends are women, how do like husbands and boyfriends deal with the fact that like, oh, this is my friend Freddie? It's just a friend.
I ain't friends with them. That's just the way life goes, man.
You do what you have to do.
Yeah, man.
So it seems like because what we're here promoting today is a cookbook.
That's right, sir.
And it seems to me like a lot of what you've done, especially in the last several years, is just kind of decided to explore things that you're actually interested in and just do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of things, first of all, your wife was in here a few months ago.
She was, I remember.
Right, and we were talking about the Star Wars deal where you guys
we got to fight.
Yeah, you get to do voiceover on Star Wars.
I didn't get to kill her though. She got killed by Darth Maul. But if you got to get killed by someone, he's a good guy to get killed by.
Darth Maul is the one.
He bisected her. My daughter looked back and was like, "Mom, okay, she's okay. She's okay.
Everything's fine." And the cookbooks come out, which I don't even think people really realize that you had any kind of passion for cooking.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, you do. But otherwise, you see an actor and you just think what people write about that actor is
Exactly.
true. But my mom was a Jedi in the kitchen, and she taught me a lot of life lessons over the stove, and that's where my passion came from. I have way more friends that are chefs than actors.
Female chefs.
Males too. That's the one.
Hey.
That's the one profession because they're more confident. Like
Right.
99% of the actors in Hollywood are beta personalities. Like Sally Field, you like me, you really like me.
Right.
Meaning they're very susceptible
Oh,
to
that's
compliments
interesting. Yeah,
and
yeah.
criticism. So if you compliment them too much, they become a d-bag, and if you insult them too much, they believe it. You go, "You're great." "I am." "You suck." "I suck." That's not me. I just don't care what people say either. My mom at an early age was like, "People are gonna make fun of you no matter what."
So you were like that from the beginning?
At a very early age, I just didn't care. My mom taught me sick lessons like this. She's like, "Look, they're gonna find a reason to hate you no matter what. So like what
Wow.
you like, and if they don't like it, tough." Like
Because I
that's
think
all
the
she wrote.
reason that so many actors and actresses are beta personalities are because you're kind of brought into the world that way. You're conditioned through the audition process.
Of course, but
that
there
you are
are
seeking
some
approval.
actors like George Clooney doesn't care.
Well,
Like he'll audition and he'll tell you whether it was a good audition or not.
Right.
Like I would call my agent when I would audition for stuff, and they say how to go, and I'd be like, "Yeah, they're bringing me back for that," because you just know.
Right.
And they would bring you back. Although a couple times they didn't. I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
But and
Obviously,
if it
they
sucked,
don't know what they're doing.
If it sucked, like whether they liked me or not,
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Yeah, they want to bring you back." I'm like, "Oh, I ain't going back. That was
Right.
terrible, and I don't have a strong grasp of it, so I shouldn't do it."
Right.
And I just never look. My uncle Ron de Blasio, who managed everyone from Prince to Lionel Richie to Ray Parker Jr. and the Ghostbusters things to Guru and Gangstar, rest in peace.
Man.
He was my father's manager and Richard Pryor's manager as well. And he was the man who kind of told me the truth about my dad and broke down Hollywood and gave me this foundation to rely on when I got out there and started, following in my father's footsteps.
It's just interesting that like you find out how difficult it is before you go in.
Oh yeah, which prepares
and you still went in.
Yeah, but I knew what I had to do. Like,
Yeah.
I knew what I had to do. And so when you go in and you have an uncle who's literally saying, before the movie comes out, this thing's going to be a big hit and you need to be ready for A, B, C, and D. Or this movie's going to die, Freddie, and you need to be prepared. Don't be spending money. Don't be going on vacation. I'm like, oh, okay. And when it's someone you love and trust, and the first person who ever told you the truth about the most important thing in your life as a kid, which is a father,
Yeah.
you believe him.
Right.
And he took care of me and protected me. And it might not be fair for other people, but sorry, your uncle's not as cool as mine. Like,
Right.
This is life, bro.
What can you do?
Yeah. So he always looked out for me. I was always mentally prepared for things. And once we had a kid, it was an easy walk away. Like I took one foot out the door and the second foot was so quick behind it. to just be a full-time father, that was it. So the transition wasn't a painful one. It wasn't one of second guessing. It just felt very natural and chill.
Yeah. Now, and was he right when he would say this movie's
never
gonna
been
die?
wrong once.
Wow.
Never been wrong once.
Wow.
Not
so like
one
She's
time.
All That comes out, and he's like, this is.
Yeah, a lot of people knew that one was going to hit.
Right.
The screen, they do like test screenings, and everybody was loving that. But he told me long before they did test screenings, he told me when Down to You wasn't going to do well. So he always kind of kept me on track and let me know what people were thinking and stuff like that.
And so does leaving Hollywood to be a father, does that also make it so that when you start going back to work on whatever it is that you're going to work on, whether it's a cookbook or Hollywood or WWE, which I'm definitely going to talk to you about.
Are you a big WWE head?
The biggest.
Okay, well, you have a panda bear, so I figured you were more supportive of WWF.
but does it equip you to make decisions like that where it's like, well, I left acting, which is this quote-unquote dream job, to do what I wanted to do, which is be a parent.
Yeah.
So now I can kind of feel comfortable to actually do things like being a writer for WWE, which you were.
Yeah.
Like celebrities, quote unquote, don't do that because it's a job.
I literally told Vince would have me run like an acting workshop for a lot of the talent there. Mm-hmm. And I sat in there, I said, look, whether you respect me or not, whether you think Robert Downey Jr. is the man and I suck, Robert don't care about you. He ain't here. I do.
Right.
And that was the moment where I started to get a lot of respect from those guys and girls.
Because they realized you actually respected what they did.
I cared, and they would, ask me, these wrestling trivia things to try to see if I knew what I was talking about, and I knew more than they did.
Really?
Oh yeah, man! Like I'm the guy that asks Arn Anderson questions.
That's amazing.
And he literally, to the point where he's like, "Damn boy, nobody asks as many questions as you. I like it." I'm like, "Okay, cool, we're okay." It's like, "Yeah, some more."
And especially because Arn Anderson's the guy. Like Arn Anderson is a wrestling fan's wrestler.
Oh yeah, man, and he has Vince's ear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and very few people do. Vince respects Arn to the umpteenth degree, and everything he brings to the table. So for me, that was just a dream job. Like I worked right side by side with Vince. He was awesome. I know a lot of people think the mystique of him is what it is. Look, he demands 110%. Mm-hmm. And if you give 109, he's going to get on your ass.
Right.
Period. But he gives 110% because that's how much he gives every day. He doesn't miss shows. He's 127 years old. He's biometrically created. He's I used to call him Robo Vince, and he goes, "What does that mean?" Because he's never seen anything but wrestling. I'm like, "You never seen RoboCop?" Of course not. You didn't see Scarface, or you would have known Razor Ramon is plagiarism, and you can't do that. Of course, my bad.
Right. You didn't even realize that Razor Ramon was selling coke, and that's how he got all the gold.
Basically, it just didn't matter. Like it's wrestling. I was watching a Richard Pryor set on the sweet WWE jet one time, just to kind of unwind and relax, and we're flying back to White Plains.
Unwind.
And he literally is like, "What? Why don't you have on WrestleMania?" I'm like, "Vince, I just want to laugh and have some joy." He's like, "Well, we got Santino." I'm like, "Right, I love Santino. That's not Richard Pryor." I'm waiting for who the hell's Richard Pryor? Like, come on, man.
I love though that's Vince, and that's why I think like hardcore wrestling fans, that's the issue that they've always had with him, is that he wants to be everything to everybody. The same way wrestling is everything to him.
Oh yeah.
He wants WWE to not be wrestling. He wants it to be the single entertainment source that everybody goes
Kennedy
to.
McMahon philosophy should be written and taught in schools if you would let Vince do that.
Yes. Now
we'd have tougher kids, I'll tell you that much.
Oh my God. But that's got to be frustrating. Like a guy who says, "Well, I don't ask anything of you that I don't ask of myself." And then you go, "Yeah, but you're superhuman.
Yeah.
And I'm human.
Yeah, you have robotic parts in you to keep you alive, and I don't."
Now, is it his idea to, like, the acting workshop, for instance? Is he aware that, like, you're an actor?
Yeah.
You can help. We can use these skill sets that you have to further.
They did something called a promo class.
Right.
And he would have kids come up. I don't think I've ever talked about this before. He would have two wrestlers come up, two talent come up, and he would give them a scenario and force them to improv. But a lot of them didn't have any experience in that. And so I get throwing kids in the deep end of the pool. Like I get the Marvel Universe as opposed to DC. Like DC protects their heroes, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's the alien, whether they're from Earth or not. And they're watching crime happen and they react to crime, whereas Marvel was more active and they threw their heroes in the deep end. And if they drown, sorry, bro, you're done.
Right.
And so he was very much on the Marvel side of things, which doesn't work all the time with everyone. And so I just spoke with him. I was like, "Look, man, you're using verbiage they don't understand, and this is something that I went through as a student and know certain directors could affect me better than others. Let me do the things that were in my acting class with them, and it'll sort of break them down to the point where they feel like it's safe to fail. Because it sucks failing in front of your peers and in front of your boss.
Right.
But
Especially when Vince is your boss.
Yeah. So once I had the room and I told everybody, like, Vince doesn't see any of this. We're not recording this. I was communicating with Vince, who I thought was strong, who I thought he should give a chance to, who I thought was weak, but I didn't tell them that. I wanted them to feel safe and comfortable to fail. Because my whole thing with live TV is if you're afraid you're going to screw up, you're going to screw up.
Right.
If you can just say, F it, so to speak.
Sure.
And you don't care about falling on your face, you never will.
Right.
And that was, we would do crazy exercises called like repetition, where you're locked into whatever I say. So it'd be like, hey, nice shirt. And all they can say is, hey, nice shirt. And you go back and forth. And it's not to get him to be a better actor. It's to get him to feel so friggin' stupid that when it's finally over, like, oh, this was the dumbest thing ever. And they look around and it's all good.
Right.
And they wake up the next day and they still have a job. And so all of a sudden they start to get a little braver. And then I would tell them, hey, find I'm not going to bring them plays because they're not going to be able to relate to that. So I said, bring a monologue from your favorite movie. I'm going to show you how that actor broke it down, or at least what I think they did. And then we're going to work on that. And then you're going to execute that monologue. So I had guys like Big Show cutting Christopher Walken's speech from Pulp Fiction.
Oh, it's great.
Where he's like, and I had this
The
watch in my ass, and he's cutting it to Hornswoggle. He's cutting it to Dylan. And so it was, things like that. Like Dolph Ziggler, Nick, he did Alec Baldwin's speech from Malice, where he's like, I am God. That whole speech, like, I have a doctor. And he's a very smart guy. And when you let him do his own thing, he's he communicates much better than if it was just written for him. So I tried to show them techniques like that to help get them confident. And that was basically the majority of my job when I worked there.
Who did you like as far as improv guys go?
Oh, improv? I mean, Miz was pretty much the best one. Like, he was the one who would want to challenge me the most. Like, when we did repetition, I said, you start. And he literally, can I say a bad word?
Yes.
He literally goes, why the fuck are you here? And so our repetition was, why the fuck am I here? And he goes, why the fuck are you here? I go, why the fuck am I here? And we just went back and forth. So he was probably the best equipped to do that. But I had some really fun stuff with Jeff Hardy on his run to the title. And I got to write him some really crazy promos about sort of living in the gray area, which is what he was doing, and his whole like imagination and all that.
Yeah.
And once Vince got on board with that and said, nobody touches Jeff until Armageddon, I was like, oh my God, he's going to get the title, isn't he? And Michael Freebird, PSA, is like, shut up, don't say nothing, because he's been trying to get Jeff the title since he was born, basically. And he's like, you're going to jinx it, don't say nothing. I'm like, no, I think we're good. And then we were, and that was my favorite part of my tenure there.
It's so great
Tenure. Like, I was only there 2 years.
But it's so great, though, that you were able to maintain fandom throughout that. You were excited Jeff Hardy was going to win the title because it's like, oh, you're still excited.
I got to watch that from like backstage and watch the end of that match, and it just blew my mind to hear those fans, and almost every one of them had his armbands on, and to see them start to believe that he was going to win. And Freebird and Arn did the match, and the match they designed was amazing with those false finishes. And at that end, when you kind of forget about Jeff, and all of a sudden he comes and swantons off the top, and the crowd was like, no, yeah! And he scaled the scaffolding that they built for Armageddon and just stood on top with the title. It was great.
Now, they must have loved you because you obviously have a grasp on the storytelling of pro wrestling that I think most people, that's the element that they haven't figured out. When it's like, is it real? It's like, this storytelling mechanism is not something that's really embraced by most mainstream people. They don't get that.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. There's a lot of wrestling out there, and a lot of wrestling that people will sometimes prefer to the WWE style, but I don't want to see you kick out of a finisher 27 times. I just don't, man. That's what makes it seem fake to me. A finisher is supposed to be a finisher.
Right. Which WWE,
for the most
few months
part,
back,
does.
started to get guilty of.
Only on pay-per-views, though. Right. Only on pay-per-views, and you wouldn't kick out 10 times. You might kick out twice.
Right.
But the third one's going to get you.
Right.
So I don't think they've violated too much, but they're trying to give the people what they want to touch. But Vince is always going to do what Vince does.
Yeah.
And he, honestly, I know people don't agree with this, but he really does know best.
Yeah.
Like, John Cena was never going to be a heel because John Cena needed to be the inspiration for kids to watch that show. And people would joke and say, none of your fans can watch you. That's why you're on in the first segment instead of the last, because it's too late. It's past their bedtime. Those kids buy toys. Those kids buy merchandise.
Right.
And when those kids grow up and have kids, they buy tickets for those kids. He's
right.
Hulk Hogan. That's who they want to hate on Roman Reigns. He's an inspiration for that next generation of kids coming up, man.
I have a question because you obviously understand storytelling. As I watched this, you watch the show still.
Yeah.
Obviously. And you see half the audience is cheering for the bad guy, which is Seth Rollins, and half the audience is cheering for the good guy. I feel like sort of that linear good guy, bad guy storytelling.
Yeah.
is kind of going away.
UFC has really done a lot of that with their shows because now you're just pulling for a fighter, and you don't care if he has a bad attitude or a good attitude or something in the middle. And
that maybe Seth Rollins is there for half the audience to cheer for, and maybe Roman Reigns is there for half the audience. But
I think a lot of the audience is the hardcore fans, and so they're always going to cheer their NXT guys. They're always going to cheer them. But you know, it's I want you to believe in the indie guys and the guys coming, but just remember, only certain guys get to hold the title. Oh, you got to be the right type. You know, the small guys, their story is climbing the mountain. It's not reaching the mountaintop. They're Sisyphus. They roll the boulder up only to have it, you know, thrown all the way back down.
Right.
Shawn Michaels was a rare exception because his body would not break. Rey Mysterio is an exception that proves the rule. He's not an exception to the rule. He got hurt. The demands of a champion, Daniel Bryan is another great example of what they have to do to their body 325 days a year without good sleeping conditions, without great physical therapy, without the means to rest between matches because you're just on another plane in coach flying somewhere. It is grueling and destructive, and that's why Vince wants to keep the belt on bigger guys, because historically they've been able to last longer and remain healthier. I know no one likes to hear that because most of us are smaller guys,
right?
And we relate to the smaller guys. It ain't jujitsu. The small guy don't get to win through technique. Vince is very old school, and he thinks if a big guy punches a little guy, he's going to lose. He's wrong. And UFC's proved that. Well, the Gracies have proved that.
Yeah.
But that's his philosophy. So if you want to know some Vince philosophy and want to know why your guy can't win, there you go.
Right. But it's also interesting that, like, I always understood the second part. But the first part of just in terms of maintaining a champion.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work. You have to, like the smaller guys become more injury prone to the schedule once they're champion.
They do.
Is not something I think that gets talked about as much as that second thing where Vince
it never gets talked about. That's why I try to bring it up so people can kind of wrap their head around it. But, you know, wrestling fans are so hardcore, and in the age of social media where we feel we can affect what the artist is going to do, like, check this out. Imagine if Jimi Hendrix was alive today. People would reach out to him in social media and they would tell him what kind of music to make.
That's true.
It would literally be the movie Misery,
right?
Where Kathy Bates is like, no, she's not dead. You're going to bring her back. I don't care what book you wrote. You're going to bring her back right now. And that's what social media is. So they want to have a voice. They feel they have a voice in the match with the no, yeah, 1, 2, ah. They feel they have a voice. You don't. Are you entitled to it? Sure. Is it ever going to get heard? It shouldn't. If the artist is like... Picasso didn't hate whales. He just didn't paint any.
Right.
Like, he did what he wanted to do because he's the artist painting the painting.
Artist.
It's Vince's toy box. They're his toys.
Right.
It's cool he invites you over twice a week to watch him play, but they're his. He doesn't take his ball and go home. He'll punch you in the face and play his game that you didn't want to play on your dead chest.
Right.
Like, that's what the artist does. Jimi Hendrix would laugh at you if you said, man, I just want a pop song.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, it's interesting.
It's Purple Haze time, you know?
You bring all that up because I went to the last pay-per-view to Extreme Rules with a writer who was totally unfamiliar with wrestling and just had to become more familiarized with it, and I was trying to explain it to him as he watched. And he goes, so why are they booing? And I go, no, we've actually entered this weird era where they're booing the creative direction of the character. Yes. They're booing the writing of the show, not the actual guy.
It's so hardcore
like
now, man.
Blowing.
They're a part of the show, and it's really the only thing on television that does that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did Vince like that you were such a type A? Because the fact that, like, you were just saying that you went to him and said, look, I know how to do this. Let me do this with your guys. It'll be a good thing. Did he like that you would be that?
Yes. It's funny. Vince would call me, he's way into psychology. Vince would call me an omega personality because he goes, oh, you always think of it. Like, the alpha doesn't care if you compliment or criticism. They're like, yeah, I know I'm good. It's like Kobe Bryant. You suck. No, I don't. Here's 5 rings. You're great. I know. Like, he doesn't get affected. You do it to an actor, and they're like, oh, my God, thank you so much. You do it to the omega, and I just want to know why you're complimenting me. Right. I'm like, what does this guy want? Or if you insult me, I'm like, what's this guy's deal? Like, I don't, and that's how Vince
because
would
you want to know, like,
me.
Am I doing something right that I need to do more of?
I just want to know where they're coming from
Yeah.
more than anything. I just don't trust people very much. And I think that's what Vince responded to because he earned it with me, and so I gave him a lot back. But I was always just straightforward, and I don't know another way to be. I told you earlier, my mom said, look, be who you are. If people make fun of you, that's on them.
Right.
Like, if you're insecure, it affects you. If you're not Freddie And she wouldn't call. Everyone called me Little Freddie except my mom. She goes, if you're not Freddie, then you're dead. But if you can maintain confidence in what you love, like I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
I still watch pro wrestling. I still love video games. I'm on Twitch. I'm a Twitch partner.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
I do that all the time. And if somebody makes fun of it, I'm laughing at them. I'm like, dog. My day ends awesome whether you crap on me or not.
Right,
like,
and you figured out
I played video games and I go to bed with my wife, Sarah Michelle. Like everything stays the same whether you go awesome or you suck.
But by the way, like people really need to factor in, like, okay, before we start criticizing it, let's look at the whole life here. This is a guy who's figured out how to leave acting, how to.
Although I'd come back to play Vince if there was ever like a biopic. I would want to play
That's like
Vince
your
McMahon.
dream role.
Oh yeah, I would do that in a second. I could do it. That's why.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with him. I know his voice. I know his walk.
Did you relate to him?
I get buff. Yeah, I can relate to Vince.
You would. You get big.
I would get. I don't know how, but I get buff.
But it's like you figured out a way to like take everything, and this is what I think more people need to do, is not be so worried about chasing that thing that is placed that society says this is the dream.
Yeah.
It's just figure
you can't
out
let
like,
magazines dictate your goals.
Right.
Yeah.
How to figure out like what do I like? Now how do I turn this into my life? I like video games.
For real.
How do I turn this into my life? Oh, what's this Twitch TV thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or I'm working with this girl on Scooby Doo. I'll marry her.
Well, I'm not friends with many actors. The only one I'm really close friends with, I married. So that one was easy.
Right. Or like, I like wrestling. How do I get closer? Yeah, let me get closer. Let me turn this into my life for a while.
It was a great experience, man. A great experience. You eat like crap, but other than that, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 of the recipes I had to like invent just so I can make easy stuff on the road.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, when you're with Vince McMahon, you can call the hotel and be like, hey, do you mind if I go in your kitchen and cook? And they're like, no, of course. Vince has rented 6,000 rooms for talent here. You can do whatever you want. I'll cook for you. No. I like to cook. I want to. Oh, well, absolutely. The kitchen will be yours. I won't allow anyone else in. I'm like, you can let anyone in. I just want to cook.
I just need a stove.
But when it's Vince, they're like, yes.
So were you cooking for people on the road?
A couple of the writers and a couple talent. They had a guy named MVP who wrestled there.
Love MVP.
He and I were really close, and he hated me when I got there.
He did.
Oh yeah, he's like, who's this Hollywood guy? Like,
right.
And John Cena too. He's like, he called me Ashton Kutcher. I think
he did.
Is what he called me. He's
Who
like,
did MVP or John Cena?
No, John Cena.
That's
MVP
great.
did not like me, and I heard him struggling with a promo with one of the writers. And I went over and I said, look, it's not my place, but I think I know what this is missing. I heard you say something a couple weeks ago. I'll have a different take on it. I think if we add it to this promo, it'll kill. And he looked at me like he was going to punch me in the face.
Right.
Which is okay. He's a tough guy, but I am too. And
He's been to jail before, though.
My godfather's Bob Wall, bro. I've been choking quarterbacks out since I was 6 years old. Yeah, he takes jiu-jitsu now because of me. So, and he's actually won tournaments now. Now he's probably whooped me out. But anyway, he looked at me like he wanted to kill me, and then he just listened to what I had to say, and he's just kind of everything stopped, and he goes, "That's really good." And I was like, "No, man, that's you that's gonna make it. You just said it, not me." I'm like, "You made it good." I was like, "Just go out there and bust that out, man." I was like, "Everybody will love it," and he did it, and he killed it, and he came up, and we became friends, and he was the first pro wrestler that I ever cooked for. We made steaks. I made us some New Mexico cowboy steaks.
Wow.
And they're in the cookbook. And I cooked those up, and he's like, "Man, we're in the kitchen, like nobody's in here." I'm like, "This Vince Power." He goes, "Bro, I'm black, okay?" He's like, "Vince Power, now they ain't letting me in here without you." I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe."
How did you win over John Cena?
I don't know if I did.
Really?
He came backstage one time, and this was a guy, and he was tough on me. Like I would be running an acting workshop, and he would just come in and like interrupt it and sort of like take over the room, and I'm like, "Hold up, man." I said, "Let's go talk outside." So he came outside. I go, and he gave me this speech, and I respected this. He goes, "Look, I may be a Neanderthal," and he said, "but you either got it or you don't." And I said, "Look, I agree philosophically to a certain point." I said, "But you can get better or worse at something depending on how hard you work at it." I said, "You don't need my help. I'm not writing for you, but they do. So let me do my job. I'll let you do your job, and that'll be that." And it wasn't. There was, about
that wasn't that.
No, it didn't end. But then one day, I did a segment with a guy that we were trying to get over, and he did a great job. And he came backstage, and so did John. And John looked at me and said, "Hey, respect. That was a good segment, man."
Who was it?
It was John. I don't remember the talent he was out there with, but I just remember him coming back and saying that. And I just remember in my head going, "No, sell it." and he goes, "Hey, man, respect." And I just looked at him. I go, "Yeah." And I look back to Vince. I go, "You happy?" And Vince goes, There's grunt. He goes, "God damn, Freddie, that was good." I go, "All right, thanks." And I walked past him because I didn't want to give him that satisfaction.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But that was sort of the last time he ever interrupted a class. He came up to me and talked to me a couple times after that. So maybe I won him over then, And then I quit like 2 weeks later.
You did. You did. Wow. But now you figured out a way to get your cooking out to the masses. Like every passion that you have, I feel like you just have this thing where I got to share this. I got to share this. And now the cooking is.
You know, you can only not do something till you do it. You know what I mean? So my wife had hounded me for years, and you know, normally the person you're closest with gives you the best advice, and you reject it on principle, which I did. I was guilty of as well, as I just didn't want to make a cookbook with recipes. So when we kind of found the right way to do it, and I have 20 plus years worth of stories in the book, stories from this crazy business. There's a story in there. I made this pasta. I won't say if it's even a male or a female. It could have been a dude. But this actor or actress, it should just be actor. That's not President S.
Right.
But it's this actor or actress stalked me for 2 years after having this. I'm not joking. When I moved, they moved. When I moved again, they moved again.
Trying to get back to the...
Homie brought me a Christmas tree to plant in the backyard so we would have roots, okay? Roots. This is someone I never even smooched on. I was like, yo, there's Klinger and then there's that.
Right.
So I put that story in there, and I said something stupid like, this recipe's too powerful for me. I give it to the rest of you so you can earn your own stalker.
We'll go and get a stalker.
Yeah, go get your own stalker.
Back to the kitchen. It's out now. You get it in bookstores. You get it on Amazon. Get it everywhere.
Hope you guys like the wrestling talk too, man. I never get to do that.
Yeah, trust me. You come back here, and I will wrestling talk you until you're blue
I love
in the
that
face.
you have. It's weird that you have a panda shirt on though, because that was so like the WWF versus WWF.
I was
like
pissed.
The beef, and they had the whole get the F out and all that.
I was pissed at pandas for a long time.
It's the one fight that Vince McMahon didn't win.
Can you believe that?
He won the going in front of Congress and looking them dead in the face and going, I don't think steroids are bad for you, and brought their own doctors to testify on his behalf and won.
Yes.
He beat the kid with one leg. He was horrible and cruel. I don't remember the boy's name, but you're like, oh, he's definitely going to do the job and let the quit. No,
Zach Allen.
He's there. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
So he beats up Zach. That's horrible. He never loses, right? And all of a sudden, the F is gone. I'm like, and I used to give him crap. We'd be on the plane. I'm like, you want me to spray paint an F on there? He's like, get on the tab.
Freddie Prinze Jr., thank you for stopping by, man.
No, thanks for having me. I
awesome
appreciate
talking to you. Hey, it's Sam Roberts back here in the SiriusXM studio with the most flattering camera angle that I could find. Listen to my show every night on XM 103, Sirius 206. It's Sam Roberts Show, Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern and going all the way to midnight Eastern. At 6 p.m. on the West. We got celebrities all the time. You just saw a celebrity interview. If you want more and you want to find them as soon as they get uploaded to this channel, go to the side of the page and subscribe. You can get all kinds of celebrity interviews, clips from my show, wrestling stuff. You never know what you're going to find on the Not Sam YouTube channel. So subscribe.